Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome into the Gramlich and McLean podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Gramlich and McLean. Mac, or should I call you Mr. 305? It's episode 305, and we're talking Miami.
That's right, KG. We're here, and tonight, go to ACC Network. You'll see more Miami talk. This is just Miami Day.
It's all about the U.
Sometimes it just works out that way. It's all about the U, as KG said. Man, it's fun. It's exciting. We're getting close. We're right here, guys. I mean, I was looking at the calendar, and we have one more week of this ACC football tour, and then it's game week. And I'm just like,
yes.
Oh, my gosh, I'm not ready. But in the same breath, it seems so far away. Like we're in that weird time. It's close, but it's not close. So do what you got to do. Go to Ingles, get prepared, people, because tailgate season is freaking here. And I know, KG, you like to get into it. I'm a big chili guy. You probably have to wait just a little bit for that. You want it to be a little brisk. You don't want a hot chili on a hot day. I'm still looking at the tomato sandwiches, the BLTs. Keep me fresh. I was actually dreaming about that. I was looking on Instagram, saw our reel of the tomato sandwich. And I was like, man, I need one right now. I got to get it.
Mac, tonight we were doing this is something we would do for a tailgate. So Nick grilled some burgers from Ingles, delicious. Yes. And you inspired me with the tomatoes because the tomatoes are so dang good. And I love just to cut up a tomato and put like some Italian dressing on there, some salt and pepper, and just eat it. Oh, I had it tonight. It's just, that's summertime to me. It's just a fresh tomato.
I've got to tell you, the first time, so we had some people over, this was a couple of years ago now. We had some people coming over, actually a former teammate, Reed and Lindsay Webster. Shout out to for both of us. That's kind of fun.
Both of our former teammates, that's right.
That's funny. And Kaki was slicing up some tomatoes and just putting them on a plate. Now, we had nothing that needed tomatoes. So I'm like, Kaki, what the heck are you doing? Nobody wants just a tomato. And of course, all the tomatoes disappear. I was quite ignorant to that.
Tomatoes are so good. Tomatoes are so underrated.
100%.
Underrated.
Especially when they're fresh and from Ingles, people. Come on, get it going. Let's go.
Exactly. Exactly right, Mac. Okay, well, it's time to talk Miami. And we were really honored that we were able to get Tyler Van Dyke again. We had him on last year a couple times, I believe. So this was really interesting to hear his insight with a new OC going into a fresh year. So speaking of fresh tomatoes, let's hear from Ingles and we'll get to TBD.
At Ingles, we're proud to work with hundreds of local farms and businesses in the communities we call home. Not only does it ensure that you get top quality, fresh items for your family table, it's a way for us to support the amazing individuals who pour their heart and soul into delivering the very best they can do. Quality, freshness, community, it's all in the bag. Ingles, low prices, love the savings.
Tyler Van Dyke back with us, man. 2 years in a row. We're honored. We're blessed to have you, buddy, and excited you're back with the Hurricanes and here for another year. Man, it's something where I look at last season and there were just spurts, right? That there were times where you were playing at like the highest level ever. You threw for nearly 1,000 yards in 2 games. And then, to start the season, there was like some miscommunication, changing of offense, all these different things. But when you were at your peak, you were there. Everything's different this year, right? A lot of changes, a lot of new people. How's camp been? How's everything been with you moving forward?
Yeah, everything's been good. Actually, after last season before I got hurt, I feel like I was at the top of my game.
Yeah.
Thought we were playing really well as an offense, and some unfortunate stuff happened, and that's the way it goes. You gotta live life and move on from it. So, fall camp's been good. I feel like we've been progressing really nicely. Receivers been doing a great job, offensive line, running backs. I feel like we're coming together really nicely, and leading up to 3 weeks until the first game. Very excited to get going with the guys.
Well, let's talk about some of the changes that we've seen, a new offense. So what has this been like with Coach Dawson? You obviously learned a new offense last year. Now you got a new offense this year. What is that like from a player's perspective? And what do you like about some of the new things y'all will be doing this year?
Yeah, I mean, this is my 4th year in college now and third offense coordinator. So
wow.
Just knowing the game and knowing schemes and concepts, it's not too hard to pick up on. Just the language is a little bit different. It's all about time and communication now. So and understanding why Coach Dawson is doing what he's doing, why he's calling this play there, why he's calling it in certain situations. So it's all about being on the same page with us too, and then obviously me being on the same page with the offensive line and the skill players.
Well, Coach Dawson, I mean, I know he's licking his chops to be able to have you as his quarterback. I mean, the things that he was able to do with Clayton at Houston and just the offenses that they had, I've got to think he feels pretty confident with the things that you guys will be able to do. I do want to talk about those big uglies. I'll leave the skill players for KG. I'll let her dive into that. But I want to talk about your offensive line because it's retooled. You guys went out and got some really special players. I mean, Matt Lee came in and he represented you guys at Media Day. I mean, he came in and feel like he's been an instant leader. So what have you seen from that group? And maybe if there's some individuals you want to pick out and say that they've really done a good job.
Yeah, the whole group in general has been doing a great job. They've been on the same page with each other, and it starts with Matt, obviously, as a center. Understanding where to point, when to flip protections, and obviously we're always on the same page. I got to see secondary rotation when blitzes occur. So, but yeah, those guys are something special. Matt Lee, Javion Cohen, Jalen Rivers, those are the guys right there. They've been doing a great job so far, leading the offense, being physical. Yeah, just taking us to the next level that we need to be at up front. So very excited to get underway with those guys.
Yeah. How about those young freshmen, man? Because it's so funny. I can't wait to see them in person. I'm going to be down with you guys in a week or so. And I just hear Coach Raven about them. And he found me at Media Day and said, hey, you're going to love this offensive line, but wait till you see these young guys. I mean, have you seen anything like that, these young guys?
Nothing like it. I mean, yeah, Francis and Sampson are monsters. It's insane. Francis is going to get a lot of playing time this year, and he's been going with the want since spring ball, doing a great job, going against guys like Akeem Mesidor, Najee Kelly, Jafar Harvey, just those experienced guys, and he's blocking them, pass blocking, run blocking. It's pretty impressive to see. I think he's 340, 350, 20% body fat.
Oh my God.
Like 6'5". It's insane. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm excited he's on our side.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it.
Mac is very excited, if you can't tell. All right, let's talk about something that the fans want to hear about. Let's talk about some pass catchers. And I remember, Tyler, last year going into the A&M game when we saw and heard the news that Xavier Restrepo was out. I thought, okay, this is TVD's security blanket. I mean, this is his guy. And I know you guys are best friends and all these types of things. So obviously he came back and we know that this is going to be a huge connection between y'all this year. Tell us more about your connection with Xavier and what kind of year you think you two can have.
Yeah, I mean, he's a special player. Finds the windows when you need him. Understands leverage, understands concepts, and what the defense is playing, coverages. So he's very smart in terms of that. Gets open pretty easily, even though he's not supposed to get open in certain coverages. So, yeah, definitely a security blanket when I need him. But, yeah, there's other guys like Kobe Young, Jacoby George, Tyler Harrell. And I can go on and on. I think all the way to our three deep receivers can play this year. I think we have a lot of depth in that position this year, and feel a lot more comfortable and stable with those guys than I did a year ago.
Yeah, for sure. And I saw something, I think it was Xavier who posted it, about you guys just competing over every little thing, and something about throwing rocks at a stop sign, which I thought was kind of funny. So what is the, for lack of a better term, stupidest thing that you guys compete over?
Honestly, it's everything. Like racing to get home to our apartment. I was not trying to go too fast.
Sure.
But, yeah, stupid stuff like that. He kind of eggs me on to do stuff like that to be competitive. And I'm just competitive, so I can't back down from any of those ideas that he has. So just got to go along with it.
You got to step up to the challenge, man. You got to show him. You got to show him you're the alpha.
Exactly.
You mentioned you're on a better page with those receivers than a year ago. What went into that? Because I think a lot of people, from the outside, they just think you show up Saturday and go throw a football around. But there's a lot that people don't see, and there's a lot of hours and effort and time and just relationship building that goes into it. So what did that look like? Really after the season for you to keep growing with these guys.
Yeah, so we were going Monday through Friday working out, and then every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday we'd always get together Tuesdays and Thursdays. We'd do 7-on-7 versus the defense, and then Saturdays we'd come in the morning and just work on timing with each other. That's the most important thing when it comes to throwing and catching the ball, especially versus tight coverage, good defenses. So, yeah, that's pretty much what we did throughout the offseason, just coming in on Saturday for a couple hours and just making sure our timing is good, just to be better at throwing and catching than we were a year ago.
Sure. What was that? I mean, were you having to, kind of pull guys' arms? Were they excited to do that? I mean, I know there's probably some different results for different times, but what was that like when you would hit them up, say, hey, let's go get some work in?
No, yeah, we have a group chat, and everybody would be there. That's just the standard now. So
Yeah.
we made it a standard, so everybody had to be there on Saturday, just to get that work in.
Yeah.
TVD, we know that this defense is going to be pretty salty. I think people are excited about this defense, and we've heard some rumblings, some rumors about this Bain kid.
Hey, it's not a rumbling. It's Coach Cristobal screaming it. He's yelling it out there.
Sounds like he's the real deal. I mean, what's the craziest thing you've seen him do so far?
I think today at practice, he was in my face a couple times. He's going with the ones.
Wow.
Every once in a while. I don't think he's in there all the time yet. I think we have a lot of great defensive linemen. Akeem Mesidor is a monster. LT. I could go on and on. Yeah, but going back to Ruben Bain, for him being a freshman, for how powerful he is going against experienced guys, it's really impressive to see. Very smart in knowing how to use his hands, using his leverage. He's just very intelligent in the way he can pass rush and get off blocks. So, like I said before about some other guys, very excited he's on our team because, I don't know if I'd want to be playing against him.
That's exciting. And this is what you love to see, right? Especially at a place like Miami that has so much tradition of just these monster players and athletes that go on and do great things. This is the level it's supposed to be at. When you have these freshmen who come in, hey, we didn't recruit you to sit down. We recruited you to play, and some of these young guys really getting an opportunity. One place younger guys might not get an opportunity is that safety position. I mean, you guys are stacked. I look at James and I look at Cam. I mean, they're just beasts and easily could both be All-Americans at the end of this year. How have they gotten better, but also how do they help you get better in the ball hawking ability, big, massive dudes in the middle? What have you seen from them so far this offseason and in camp?
Yeah, they challenged me. I challenged them. We go back and forth. They make great plays. We make great plays on them. It's very good competition. It's something we need going into the season. We make each other better. Like you said, very, impressive safeties, impressive people. Those two have really taken a next step in being the leader on the defense that we need, both of them, and the team as well. So, yeah, very glad they're on our team. Obviously, great ball hawkers, great tacklers in space. One of the best safety duos in the nation. So, can't wait to see him play this fall.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And, I mentioned earlier in the interview, we talked about Restrepo getting hurt in that A&M game. And it just feels like you guys had so many chances in that game. I mean, so many chances to win it. You get them again. That's the beauty of college football with these home and homes. I know you have Miami of Ohio to start the year and then A&M. What kind of message do you think you guys can send if you get off to a really good start and also, have a win in that A&M game?
Yeah, like you said, it starts with the Miami of Ohio game. We got to start off strong with that. Losing to Middle Tennessee last year, we can't take anybody lightly. So that's where our mindset has to be going into the next few weeks. And obviously A&M coming into our place. So, last year's last year. Obviously couldn't score in the red zone. Had a lot of yards, couldn't score in the red zone. So, just going to focus on the first game for now and then move on to that one after. But, yeah, definitely very excited for that A&M game.
Tyler, last one for you, man. We're so grateful for your time. What do you think the biggest difference is in last year's Miami team and this year? Coach Cristobal's second year, a lot of star players that are still on the team now, but there's just I don't know, it feels different to me, and I think it will feel even more different when I'm down there visiting with you guys. But what's the biggest difference in your opinion?
It's just the positive energy. I think the culture has changed immensely. more guys using their voices, becoming leaders. I think we're more together than we were a year ago. Um, Between the offense and defense, we've done a lot of stuff off the field, just hanging out with each other, making sure we're all close and family. So I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to team success. You got to be close. You got to be family.
Yeah.
Because when it gets hard, sometimes you got to be able to fight through those adverse moments with each other. In a difficult atmosphere in some stadiums. So yeah, it's all about togetherness and playing together that leads to success.
There you go, man. Well, we're grateful for your time. Very appreciative of you, man, and excited to see you guys this season.
Mac, as we said before we chatted with our guy TVD, it is all about the U. And every single year, we come into an ACC football season with high expectations for Miami because they are always tremendously talented. They return a guy like Tyler Van Dyke, who is an NFL level talent. They've got some new faces, new coordinators, but should there be some hype for this team, Mac? I mean, the real answer is yes, of course, because there always is. But how are we feeling about the Miami hype?
Here's the deal. The roster is impressive. And it, like you said, it usually is, but it's impressive in different places to me. The offensive line is retooled. And again, we're recording this early. Again, watch tonight. You'll see ACC Network. You'll probably hear me raving a lot more because I'll have seen them in person. But everything that I've read is that this offensive line is for real. It's deep. They've got experience. You got
Mario
some transfers
told you that
in.
at ACC kickoff.
He came and found me and told me that. He's going to say, hey, look, you're going to be excited when you see these guys. And a couple of freshmen, 5-star freshmen, and Sampson and Big Francis, as KG likes to say. And so we're excited to see them. And I think that there's a lot of promise there. Now, some of those young guys might have to step in and play right away, which can be a little concerning. This is another level. But, hey, you recruit 5 stars to play, not to sit and watch. And so you got to be ready. You got to get it going. So excited to see that. When I look at Miami last year, just a confusing season, up and down, all around. I mean, 5-7 with some bad, embarrassing losses. The play calling was so weird, KG. They tried to do stuff that they weren't physically ready to do from a body standpoint when you look at who they were as a team. And then when they did kind of go back to TVD's skill set, he threw for nearly 1,000 yards in 2 games. And then, of course, he gets hurt and can't go for the rest of the year. And, the rest was history. So I think that there is, because of some changes, because of where I think this team can be, I think there should be, and there is hype about Miami.
I agree. And we all know last year injuries were an issue. There's no doubt about it. Obviously, Tyler Van Dyke's injury, but I still stand by Restrepo getting hurt before they went to A&M was huge. And we mentioned that with TVD. That's Tyler's security blanket. That's his guy. That's his best friend. They're roommates. Yeah. And he didn't have him. And that game was a game of inches. I mean, it was very close in College Station, and Miami couldn't score in the red zone. So I still think that could have changed their season. And of course, Restrepo's got to stay healthy for this offense. But Mac, let's talk about that O-line, because I think that's a big difference. There are some guys that you're really excited about. And you mentioned Sampson and Francis, these guys that might play right away. You were reminding me that you were a 5th-year senior when Mitch Hyatt was a true freshman at Clemson.
That's right.
Starting at left tackle as a true freshman. What does it take to be able to start on the O-line in the ACC as a true freshman?
Yeah, I tell you what, it is way more difficult at tackle, right? Just because of the monsters that are out there, the teams that you see, the werewolves that are out there that, both these young cats, if they play, you're going to get a healthy dose, especially when you look at this schedule and, who Miami plays. They've got to be ready. They've got to be ready to go. And honestly, it just takes communication. I mean, physically, I'm sure that they are at a place, everything that I've heard, these guys are very gifted, right? And the way that they look physically, their strength, body composition, all of those things. So I assume that is probably on par with a relatively average, 2-3 year offensive lineman. Now, what have they done since they've got there? Have they taken that another step where they're just these freakazoids? The biggest thing is just communication. Everybody has to be on the same page. And that's true if it's 5 fifth-year seniors out there or 5 true freshmen. Everybody, if you're all wrong, you're all right. You're all going the same way. And that's important, which it's funny to think about that. But truly, if you can just kind of know what each other are doing, you're in a great spot, and it can make things easier. Now, if they put them in a bunch of one-on-ones and target and overload and try to confuse, then you might have a problem. But I'll be able to give you a better assessment again, seeing these guys in person. But I think with the veteran guard play, experienced guys that have either been at Miami for a while or been in the SEC, and Javian Cohen on the other side, I just have to think that they're going to be ready and get these guys going if the freshmen do indeed have to play early.
They've got to protect TVD, keep him healthy. That's rule number one.
Please.
And it feels like Shannon Dawson, the new OC, and just the way Tyler Van Dyke was talking to us about this new system. First of all, he said this is his third new system at Miami, so he's kind of used to that. But it feels like Miami kind of understood, okay, we've got to utilize TVD's skill set. We can't just try to ground and pound and be really vanilla and not use his cannon of an arm. So do you feel like that's more of what we're going to see this year?
I would assume so. I mean, everything that Coach Dawson did at Houston, I mean, I have some of the stats written down here. He had in 2019 with a true freshman, he had 2,400 yards, 39 total TDs, 2,000 rushing yards. So great balance there. In a COVID year, same thing, great balance. Then in the junior year, you saw these guys go up to 3,800 yards. And then the next year in a senior year, over 4,000. Each of those seasons had 57 touchdowns. Miami this past season only had 30. They're not scoring at a high clip the season ago. That's almost double the production. So just think about that. I mean, it's going to be exceptional to see. And when you see the concepts, the RPO is going to be really heavy. Letting TVD sling it all around, let him be comfortable. Don't have him thinking about, a whole lot of different crazy things that could go on and checks and, things of that nature. So I am excited to see it and just how much more free he can be in this offense, because it's undeniable the talent that he has, and the arm talent, the anticipation. I mean, this guy 2 years ago going into last season was already a mock first rounder. And I think he can get back to that if he has a massive year, but certainly it's going to take a big year with a bunch of stats.
Yeah, it is for sure. And I want to speaking of stats, throw this at you. This was the last season when Miami went 5-7 was the first time that they had not made a bowl game since 2007, which is pretty surprising, honestly, because people always talk, oh, Miami's been down, blah, blah, blah. But they've been consistently in bowl games for the past, 15 years.
Yeah.
The other thing that's interesting, Mac, is defensively. This is the first time since 2006 that Miami returns an All-American on defense in Cam Kinchen. So that part to me is interesting. And I think this offense is going to be improved, but I think this defense can really be, no disrespect, but maybe the heart and soul of this team.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's disrespectful. I think especially when you see, new coordinator they bring in, Coach G had a top 5, defense at Marshall. I had the privilege of speaking to him in the bowl game. I covered their bowl game for Marshall, and he does some exotic stuff. He wants to be multiple. He's going to kind of a lot like Coach Anai, but obviously defensively, where he tries to get one-on-one matchups, in the blitz protection or against protection, and put guys in, these really good situations. So that makes me excited. What is Miami now going to be able to do with that? With James Williams, a very versatile piece of that safety position, a big monster. Cam coming off the edge. I talked to him about this at Media Day. He said, yeah, I love it, man. I want to be close to the box. I want to be making plays, get to that football. And so to me, I think when you see this skill, when you see this talent, especially on the defensive line and around the linebacking core, you bring in Francis's brother, Francisco, to play linebacker from Washington State. Leonard Taylor, I think, he's right there. Like, if he can take another step and really, KG, reach that 5-star potential, you feel really good about the things that he's going to do. Akeem Mesidor, I mean, TVD said this dude's just killing guys. And then another freshman in Bain, Ruben Bain, that I think has a good chance to start. I mean, he's a guy that Coach Cristobal has just been raving about. And in high school, dude had like 100 sacks in his career. I mean, that's just crazy. That's Haba Baldonado playing against these young kids, those type of stats. If you guys remember the videos that we put out there. And of course, the secondary, it is what it is in Miami. You know what time it is when you see those guys out there. So a lot of versatility that I think we're going to see defensively, KG. A lot of, man, just moving guys around, find the best spot, try to get those one-on-one matchups in the blitz pickup. And even, what I would love to see is kind of this, I always talk about the rabbit package defensively, where you bring in a fast guy, a defensive end, put him at 3 technique. Do they try to do that with Akeem Mesidor? Slide him inside, have Bain right beside him, and just have these werewolves everywhere you look. It's going to be fun. I know his creativity, exotic looks, it's going to be on full display for the defense.
Mac, you're getting me excited.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm getting myself excited.
This is the bottom line with Miami, even though I just gave you the stat that they haven't had a returning defensive All-American since 2006. So that is different. But it just feels like every year they have dudes.
Yeah.
And we don't see it come to fruition.
No.
But you just named so many names on that defense. It feels like this defense, they've got to be better. And they've got to wreak havoc. They've got to force turnovers. They've got to help this offense.
Right. That's got to be the piece. And then when, you do get the ball back, who's going to be the guy to step up and help Restrepo, right? We know he's the security blanket. We know that he's the guy that's going to be there and make some solid plays if healthy. Can Tyler Harrell, who started at Louisville, went to Alabama, and is now at Miami, can he step up and get it done? Which that's interesting. I don't know, how he's eligible, but some guys aren't. Maybe he graduated from Bama. Colby Young, really came on last year, coming a big target for the guys. And then just who else? Are there some freshmen? Are there some young guys that can step up? I think TVD's the type of quarterback that he can make people better around him. And certainly that's probably going to be the case here. A lot like Clemson. I think there's talent, but maybe it's a little unproven that guys just need to see it come to fruition. The run game is going to be interesting, KG. Again, we talk about the offensive line. I think Jalen Rivers is going to be a monster. Matt Lee is going to be a monster. And then some of those freshmen, see where they play. But is Henry Parrish going to be the guy? Is Donald Chaney finally going to stay healthy and help be a guy? Is there a freshman that we don't know about that they feel good and step up? Because as much as I know they're probably going to throw it, I know at Coach Cristobal's core, he wants to run the football. He wants to be able to run the football when he needs to run the football. And with this big offensive line, I think that they're going to pave the way a little bit better. So at the end of the day, it's all about health for these skill positions. And, just how healthy can they stay throughout the year?
Mm-hmm. You run to win. That's
right.
Our new line that we're going with right now. Mac, let's talk schedule. Vegas has the Miami Hurricanes win total at 7.5. I find the schedule to be very interesting.
Yep.
They draw the 3 teams picked highest in the league in Clemson, Florida State, UNC. They play all 3 of those.
Yep.
They also have A&M.
And the fourth in NC State.
Yeah, and NC State. That's right. That's right.
4.
At NC State. They also have, and 3 of those games are on the road, by the way, of those 4 teams. They have Clemson at home. They also have A&M early. I think I asked TVD a little bit about that A&M game. I think that A&M game is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And when we look back at last year, hindsight's 2020, but I feel like it all started to unravel after A&M. And of course, they lost to Middle Tennessee right after A&M last year. Mm. So, and A&M, you were telling me this before we came on, that A&M is somehow ranked in the preseason top 25, which I think is just the most absurd thing I've ever heard of. So that game is huge. Like, I think a lot of your season, not saying you can't recover if you lose that game, but that game can give you a ton of momentum. Even if A&M turns out to not be great,
100%.
because we don't really think they are. It's still just a big brand. It's necessary. It's an ACC SEC battle. The A&M game is really big, Mac, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's massive. I mean, it's ABC 3:30 week 2. Let's get it going. And they're going to be ranked coming into that game. They're going to be just fine. So a good opportunity at home, right? At home to get ranked up and to get that momentum and fly that ACC flag. I don't care what their record is at the end of the year. They're ranked when you play, and I kind of changed. I moved the goalposts. I will admit that I changed it depending on my argument, what I want to say.
We all do that.
Yeah, that's right. And you look at last year's game, they should have won that game. I mean, my gosh, there were like 11 drops, just horrible execution. Guys couldn't catch the ball, couldn't execute in the red zone, couldn't score any points. And it was just baffling. It truly was. And like you said, that was the kind of beginning of this, what the heck is going on, for Miami. And they kind of figured it out and then didn't figure it out. So, yeah, it's important. And again, looking at that schedule at UNC, versus Clemson, at NC State, at Florida State. That is a rough stretch right there with Virginia kind of sandwiched
Virginia in the middle.
Yeah, thank you. That's going to be tough. And, when you look at that, how many of those teams are ranked? Right now, 3 of the 4 are. When you look at those top 4 schools, does NC State find a way? And is Miami themselves ranked? I mean, they could easily be walking into North Carolina at 5-0, ranked somewhere in the country. And how much momentum can you get? We saw it happen with Coach Richt in what was it, 2017, where Miami just exploded and got, I think, as high as like number 2 or 3 in the country. Yeah. And so can they catch that again? Can they bottle it up? Because the excitement will be there. As soon as the Canes win, look out. I mean, the nation will be all about some Miami very quickly.
Always. I think, Miami used to be kind of a hated brand, but now people are just like, come on, Miami. Like,
come on,
you should be good. Come on, help us out. I really appreciate that we have the Miami Bowl week 1, Miami, Florida versus Miami of Ohio. I think that is just
the
excellent.
Real Miami. Who's the real Miami?
I love that so much.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So did you give us a number? I don't know.
Yeah, I was about to.
Did you go with it? Did you pick?
I hate picking Miami. I hate it. I hate picking Miami. The number 7.5, and I see 8 wins.
Yeah,
I see 8 wins. Yeah. So I think you go over. Especially just you heard us name all the freaking dudes on this roster.
Yeah.
I think Miami's a win. I think A&M should be a win. Bethune-Cookman at Temple, Georgia Tech, Virginia, Louisville, BC.
Yeah.
Louisville at home. I think those should be wins, Mac. But
they should be.
Whatever you think with Miami almost never comes true.
I know. Here's the deal. I think that they get to kind of similar. I can't remember who I said this about. I think they get to 8 in the bowl game. So I'm going to go under.
Okay.
I'm a big over guy. I'm
proud of you, Mac.
My math never really maths up. But I'm going to go under here. I do think that there's a possibility for an 8-win season and showing like some brink of greatness. And then just what can you do building in the future? That'll be the biggest thing for Miami. So I'm right there, right at the under. I'm close.
Right
we'll see
there.
if I'm persuaded. Hey, we'll maybe do a little addendum to this episode after I see practice. We'll see what happens. The hype train might have fully left the station by then, KG. But that's it from us, guys. Another great episode. Shout out to the Canes. Shout out to Cam hooking us up. TVD, appreciate his time. He was right in the middle. I know he was headed to another meeting. He made time for us. But another great episode of Gramlich and Mac Lane brought to you by our great friends over at Ingles. Couldn't do this without their support and really appreciate them. We need you to do us a favor. Get over to YouTube, subscribe, leave some comments, jump on this party. We have a ton of fun. And, of course, the OGs over on Apple Podcasts, rate, review, subscribe over there as well. We would greatly appreciate that. But until next time, we'll see y'all.